I lied about my age and got caught, and it was the best thing to ever happen to me. My mom couldn't afford to pay rent, so I said I was 19 and got a job at a construction site to stop us from losing our home. But on my first day, I was too weak to even lift a cinder block, and the foreman immediately noticed I wasn't the age I said I was. I kept trying because I knew I had to save our home, but he walked over and dragged me into his office. "Go home. I can't have a kid on site." He pointed me to the door. I cried and explained my situation, but he just crossed his arms. "I could lose my license because of you. Now leave." I was devastated and walked off, and when I came home I saw Mom crying at the kitchen table, holding an eviction warning that just came in. We were 7 days from losing our home. I didn't know what to do, and next day skipped school to instead look for work. But when I walked past the construction site, the foreman ran over to me. He said nothing and simply handed me an envelope. I opened it and saw 2 months worth of rent inside. I teared up and hugged him, and he told me, "I was just like you once, working and lying about my age so my family could afford food. You deserve it." I was about to cry when suddenly he handed me a piece of paper with an address. He explained this was his cousin's corner shop. "He'll hire you cash under the table." I already called him. "Stay in school, kid." I couldn't believe it. And when I told Mom everything, she cried tears of joy. I watched the next day as she paid our rent and had the biggest smile on my face. For 6 years after my brother died, I kept his Xbox controller on the couch next to me. Every Saturday he'd come in, ruffle my hair, and say, "Come here, little man," as he handed me the black controller and took the red one for himself. The first time I asked to be player 1, he wagged his finger and said, "No dude, player 2's the better seat. You get to watch someone you love have fun." I never asked again. I lived for Saturdays just to spend time with him. Then one spring he died. After that I played alone but would always put the red controller back on his cushion. It wasn't the same, but he was still there next to me in spirit. A year after I lost him, my little brother Noah was born. At 2, he reached for the red controller and I moved it to the armrest. At 3, he pointed at it and asked whose it was. I told him his brother's, and he asked who his brother was. I told him a good one. At 4, he asked to play every Saturday. I made excuses for a year. Then one morning he climbed up, put his hands on my knee, and said, "Please, just once." I didn't have anything left. I patted the cushion next to me and said, "Come here, little man." Noah scrambled up. I gave him the black controller and picked up the red one for the first time. "Can I be player 1? I wagged my finger and ruffled his hair. "No dude, player 2's the better seat. You get to watch someone you love have fun." Noah settled into the cushion with both hands on the controller. That's when I realized I was doing what my brother used to do. I looked down at Noah grinning at the screen. Ethan was right. It is the better seat. I added up the cash on my bedroom floor and finally hit $550. I jumped up and started pacing my room because I'd been saving for a PS5 every birthday since 5th grade, and now I was only $50 short. I needed to hide it before my dad pulled one of his random cleanups, so I grabbed the dustiest game I owned off my shelf, an NBA 2K15, and slid the envelope inside before snapping the case shut and burying it at the bottom of my game box in the closet. I went to bed feeling smarter than my dad for the first time in my life. I got home from school the next day and pushed open my bedroom door, but my closet was hanging wide open and my game box and the stack next to it was gone. I sprinted downstairs and asked my dad where my games were, and he said cheerfully without looking up from the dishes, "Oh, I dropped that whole pile off at Goodwill on my way back from work. You haven't touched those in years, so I figured I might as well give it to someone who needs it more." I asked him when, and he said about 30 minutes ago. I grabbed my bike off the porch and pedaled the 2 miles to Goodwill faster than I ever had. I dropped my bike at the front door and ran straight to the games shelf and tore through every row, but the case wasn't there. I walked up to the cashier out of breath and asked her if anyone had bought an NBA 2K15 disc in the last hour. She was scanning a coffee mug and didn't even look up. "Yeah, some guy bought a stack of games 20 minutes ago, $5 for the whole pile." I asked if the cases had anything in them, and she finally looked up at me. "Honey, we don't open them. Whatever was inside is gone. Can you stop bothering me now?" I rode my bike home in tears, and the second I burst through the front door, I marched up to my dad at the kitchen table and slammed my hands down in front of him. "You owe me $550. There was an envelope in the NBA 2K15 case. That was 3 years of birthday money and you better pay me back." My dad set his fork down and looked at me. "You hid $500 in a game case and didn't tell anyone? It was my money, Dad, and it's my house. You're grounded for 2 weeks for yelling at me, and you can forget the PS5 this year." I stood there shaking, but he ignored me and went back to his food. I walked up to my room and slammed the door shut, and from downstairs I heard him yell, "Since you want to slam doors in this house, I'll be taking your tablet too." I sat on my bed staring at the spot in my closet where the game box used to be. Some guy at Goodwill got my PS5 for $5. Fudge. I became my school's hero for 1 minute before everyone watched what happened next. I don't play around when it comes to Halloween, so during our school's Halloween dance, I dressed up in real firefighter gear from my dad's closet. Real jacket, real boots, real helmet. I strutted around the gym like I owned the place, until the fog machine popped like a toaster and the fire alarm went off. Everyone cheered thinking it was part of the show until I smelled burnt plastic. Teachers started waving their arms, telling everyone to stay calm, but I noticed the orange extension cord powering the machine didn't stop at the wall. It ran out the side doors and down the hallway toward the science wing. Then someone near the door yelled, "Smoke in the hallway," and teachers started shouting for everyone to evacuate. Real sirens started wailing outside and fire trucks pulled up. The crowd poured into the parking lot while firefighters rushed through the main doors. That's when one of them spotted me standing near the entrance in full gear. "You, with us," he shouted. "We're clearing the east wing." I opened my mouth to say I'm just a student, but he shoved a flashlight into my hand and pushed me forward. The hallway was dark and filled with smoke. We followed the orange cord past the lockers until it disappeared under Mrs. Carter's classroom door. One of the firefighters reached for the handle and jerked back. "Hot," he said, then looked at me. "Hit it!" But I only had my foam axe. I swung as hard as I could and it bounced off with a pathetic squeak. The firefighter grabbed it, swung himself, and the foam bent in half. He stared at it, muttered, "These damn budget cuts," and tossed it aside. That's when someone shouted from down the hall and he waved to the others. "Forget this door. We'll circle back once we've got tools." They started heading back down the hall, but then I heard it. A squeaky wheel spinning frantically. This was Mrs. Carter's room, and the class pet Mr. Nibbles was still inside. I turned back to the door. The handle was glowing red. I wrapped my jacket sleeve around my arm and threw my shoulder into the bottom panel until it cracked open. Smoke poured out and choked me instantly. The hamster cage was on the counter, and tiny flames were eating the papers around it. I grabbed the melted cord with my sleeve and yanked it from the wall. A spark bit through the fabric straight into my skin, and I screamed, but kept pulling until the plug came loose. I grabbed the cage with my smoking sleeve and the metal seared into my palm. I could smell my skin burning. My lungs felt like they were filled with glass, and my vision was going black around the edges, but I ran. When I burst through the side door, I collapsed face first onto the concrete and threw Mr. Nibbles onto the grass so I wouldn't crush him. I could hear cheering as hands grabbed me, and someone pulled off my helmet. A firefighter was staring down at me. "Kid, you're a hero!" That's when I heard the scream. I turned my head and watched a hawk swoop down, grab Mr. Nibbles in its talons, and fly away.